Norman and I have a couple of graphs we'd like to show.
Oh, sure. Did you want to do that now, or do you want to wait till?
Norman, are you ready?
Yeah, I can show a couple of graphs I did with you. I don't know if I need control, I guess, to show the plots.
Well, yours are better organized than mine. I just have one. You've got that combination.
Yeah. I just need to, and I need to show my screen. So
You need some time?
no, I just need to show my screen.
Okay.
How do I do? You?
Yeah, down at the bottom where it says share.
It's a green.
Where do I click there? You see? No, does people see or not? Or
No, we just see you.
yeah.
Down on the bottom, there's that green thing called share.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
And then you have to, I think, click on your desktop.
Fine.
Other people may have a better idea of how to do this.
Application window.
Still seeing you.
You see that? No?
No.
Murphy's Law.
Oh, gosh.
Hold on. Now you see?
We have something else on there. Looks like a very, very large version of something.
It's
You
like
don't
your
see
screen is
the
sharing, but it's very zoomed in.
sorry. You don't see the plot, right? You don't.
We see a very small part of the lower right-hand part. Okay, we're seeing part of it, but it's very, very small area.
How come? I'll do it. Try again.
Yeah, I gather you haven't done this before.
No.
Okay. Well, someone had a comment. They had very, very low audio, so if anybody has a comment on how to get Norman going.
This is a okay, now it seems fine. We're seeing your desktop background. So if you open
Okay, you see the
image,
desktop background now. Okay. Now you see the plot? Okay. Yeah. Yesterday, Joe sent me a plot of his of Grape One station, and he hit me with the possibility that it might the plot might be affected by X-ray flares. So that's what we see right now is Joe's FLDG plot. Then I looked at mine, and also it was quite active on my side. And what I've noticed is that I have a spike here that occurred about at 1730 UTC, and there was a second spike around here about 2130 UTC. And it seems that we see that also on the plot from Joe. So I went look at the X-ray flare graphs, and actually on November 4th we had the two bursts here corresponding at the same time. So I just put that on the same plot here, where above we have here Joe's graphic, there's mine here, and then we have that here in the back where the two bursts of X-ray occurs, and we see on our respective Grape 1 station the results. The other thing I've noticed is I've plotted the CSV file, and on the top one, when on Joe's plot, it recovers fairly quickly from the X-ray burst. On mine, it stays down for about an hour, and prior going up again for the signal level. So it was interesting to see that the ionosphere was not affected the same way overhead here. As for the second X-ray flare burst here, it was almost the same on the plots. And the last one I have was the Doppler shift plots, which shows how it looks like when you have all those dots. And it's more difficult to interpret the plots when you have the CSV file plotted that way. So that's what I had to show today.
Norman, can you go back to that combination of all three?
Yeah, sure.
And the difference is fairly appreciable between my latitude, which is 35 degrees, and Norman, I think, is 15 degrees further north, plus further from WWV. But look at the difference in the recovery time between mine at the top and the very, very much longer recovery time at Norman's. And also during that recovery of the first of the events, look at the little steps all in here. Basically, I equate that to earthquake aftershocks. There was a lot going on with that burst.
Yeah. And the second X-ray burst occurred about at sunset here, all the same time.
Of course, mine was a little earlier in my day.
Yeah.
And also,
Yours was at your sunset or it was.
If you look at Norman's a graph in the middle, down where that I keep getting things on here, but there's a flat spot down at the bottom of the first burst, and I suspect the signal has faded.
This one here.
The faded has beyond. I mean, it's faded beyond the sensitivity of the grape receivers. These are both from the old original Grape 1.
Yeah.
That's what I've got. Thank you, Norman.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, this is something that we've been looking at. Shibaji Chakraborty spotted this a couple of years ago because we were talking about, you know, what events are you looking at, and he was looking at this one flare in 2023, and I pulled up the graph, and we had one of those, you know, really beautiful spikes associated with it. And so yeah, you can look at the grape data on any given day, and the spikes will often match up with solar flares. But you guys are doing something with this that we haven't done yet, which is to look sort of at the kind of empirically at those little, as you call them, aftershocks, and that's an interesting tack. I had not thought about doing that. I can give you what we've got on this so far. Which is, there's some links in the chat. Figure 9 of the Earth System Science ESSD paper, where we summarized the Grape 1 data set, has an example of this where you can see multiple stations. And the thing that you noticed about the latitude dependence shows up really well there, with like 4 or 5 stations or something as an example. So if you color map them by yes, thank you, Rachel. Let's see. Yes, color map by longitude. you can see that there's that like very the magnitude of the Doppler flash just before right there. And the time that the flare is like registered as is a little bit after, but that's because the Doppler is responsive to the derivative. So as it's peaking, right? And then the flare has like a period of time. It has like a start of the event and an end of the event. And so this will show up between sort of the start and the peak. But I have not really spent very much time looking at the recovery of that. One of the things about it is that the angle for the flare relative to the Earth matters and shows up in our spatially distributed data. And Shibaji and I actually have a proposal submitted to NSF some months ago to fund further analysis of this, and are, you know, waiting to hear back. But yeah, I'm sure that there's more interesting things to look at in this regard. I said there's a link at the top. This is just an abstract, unfortunately, to our AGU poster. I should have a copy of this somewhere. I'll see if I can find it. But it's the like our poster summarizing what we'd figured out so far for Doppler flash stuff. And that one's not you know, the AGU posters are not peer reviewed, but we had a pretty good summary of it on there, and I'll see if I can find that. But yeah, definitely you know, keep looking at them, because I'm sure that there's things we're not spotting. We basically had been looking at it from a like, you know, many instruments statistical point of view of like, okay, here's the list of events and here's the list of things, and let's just build a scatter plot of everything. But what we have not been doing very much of is looking at it from the perspective of one station or two stations, or sort of those direct comparisons like you guys are showing. So yeah, let me know what you see when you look at the different solar flares. And I've been getting Bill's plots every day, and then the first thing that I do when I get those every evening is I open them up and I look for those spikes, and then I go to spaceweather.com and look at the flares on the sidebar and see if I correctly guessed whether they were M class or X class or C class or whatever else. So yeah, great stuff.
I've got I've got a comment about a different star. There's a star, I think it's in Leo, 12 or 13 light years away from here. And the amateur astronomers who do photometry were monitoring this thing when there was an enormous flare. And we are talking something that makes what, you know, our local solar flares insignificant. The brightness of the star increased by 4.5 magnitudes, which is roughly 63 times. Yeah, yeah. And talk about a severe sunburn. But that did happen, and the people, the photometrist captured the entire thing, which lasted maybe 5 to 10 minutes for the entire flare, and it has that same shark fin shape as the flares from our own sun. Anyway, thank you. Appreciate that, Christina.
That's awesome. Let's see what. Oh yeah, I was gonna say I've been looking at the plots this past week, and I should have taken better notes on this, but there's been some weirdness. That's all I got. So there were some things where I was like, oh, this must correlate to some major solar activity, and then I looked and there was just like nothing on the sun. And I don't know if it's because like, yeah, I'm not sure. Like the sunrise peaks have not been particularly clean. There have been like weird oscillations that seem like they must be geophysical because they capture multiple stations. You know, there's one station, I think it might be the one in Florida, or maybe it's the one in British Columbia, that sometimes gets like, you know, strange noise and things like that. And so if that station's got like a funky signal, I usually assume that it's just QRM for their local environment, right? But there have been some things where their signal has been kind of strange, but then so have other ones. And I'll see if I can dig up some examples, but I don't know. There's just been some interesting behavior in the past week or 2 weeks. So I guess the moral of the story is let's all keep looking at the plots.
Thank you.
You.
Okay. Any other announcements or updates? Okay, we'll get right into updates. Bill?
Okay, thanks, Rachel. The only thing that I have to discuss with this group at this time is I have a list of people who still have Grape One legacy systems that are uploading to the WWV Club server. And I think we should establish a target to, by the end of this calendar year, get them switched over to the Personal Space with a Station network. Let me show you the list and see if that triggers any thoughts. Let me see, where is it here? These are people who are still doing daily uploads to WWV, and I know Bill Blackwell is pretty conscientious, and it may be he just keeps this running for purposes of being able to help other people with it or something like that. But I'm not sure if anybody else has any thoughts on what to do here, but if we need to tell people if they want to continue participating in the project after the end of this calendar year, it's necessary for them to switch over to uploading to Personal Space with a Station network. The new server and the old server have the same URL, so it's not even that is an issue. It's just somebody having the time to go through the process to switch over. And then I've got a process by which I import data from WWV, but it's kind of manual, and so.
I did it, and it is not very hard to do at all. It's a lot easier than even setting up originally the Grape. And so I think you wrote really good instructions. That was what, 4 or 5 months ago I did it, and other people have done it too. So it works really well. And
So
I
yeah.
think
Anyway, I don't want to start stirring the pot too much unless I get the support of this team. We need to tell people we do this or you're going to lose access, because I mean after the end of the year, I'm not going to download and import these things anymore unless somebody tells me I really have to, because it's just another manual process that is not really part of the the official data stream.
I just texted Gareth Perry asking him to switch over. So I've been texting him this morning. So I messaged him. Some of the people who are on this list are on this call now.
Yeah.
Start with those.
I mean, is there anybody who needs a copy of the instructions or a fresh copy? Maybe that's what I could do. I could send out a fresh copy of the instructions. Again, if I can dig them up from 5 months ago. But yeah, then we can put the
maybe
issue.
we could post those on the website under the Grape project so that they're always available to people.
Oh, well, that's not a bad idea at all. Actually, let me make a note of that.
Phil, I'm happy to help with this. This is in scope of stuff I'm supposed to be doing.
So it's sort of interesting, after we were looking just at Joe and Norman's graphs this morning, those are legacy Grape One graphs. How did you guys get those? Are you just taking them right off your Raspberry Pis and sharing them? Is that, because I don't think we're generating those. Those aren't being generated on the PSWS website. We're using Nathaniel's algorithm instead.
Yeah, we're both grabbing them from my Raspberry Pi computers. I keep
Okay,
I keep an archive of every observation.
okay, so that's how you're able to look at those. Is that useful to be able to look at those legacy graphs and make a quick interpretation like that?
Extremely, yes.
So how do we do that looking at the personal space weather station, the same data? Is it is it as obvious there, do you think? Because you guys are uploading to that already. You're not on the hit list here for not uploading, but you also are keeping those original, PNG files that we generate. And so we don't have those on the
Bill,
PSWS.
No, but the Raspberry Pis record those and archive them on the little SD
I,
card.
Yeah, but they're not, they're never archived in that format. And is it easy enough to regenerate those graphs? I mean, we do it
Bill,
on the fly on the Raspberry Pi. Can we
I
regenerate
have,
those from the CSV files?
Yeah, you
I
can.
have a complete
Yes.
set of them here, and they are generated and kept on the Raspberry Pi.
but I think maybe we're talking about the files that Bill Blackwell gathers and is that what we're talking about, Christina?
So there's a couple different sets. So I don't actually know Bill's entire process, but I
He
think
he
he's pulling the ones from. Is Bill here today? I think he's pulling the ones from the WW0 WWV server, and then plotting them with a version of that code. But then also the local ones are plotted just with the, like, I think it's part of a cron job that runs on the legacy pies, right? So they look pretty similar. They're just a plot of the data that's in the CSV. I think it's easier to have them than not, but yeah, you can absolutely regenerate them from the CSV data if that's something that you want to do. So
And
between
the
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 two, the
process,
CSV is, yeah.
I want to clarify that the process that Bill is doing now is having the Raspberry Pis deliver the data straight to Alabama. They are not going through the WWV server at all. And that's what we're trying to do, is to get people moving away from that. So he has to go back and get the folks on the list, he has to go back and get those physically from the WWV server, only
Right.
those files. So if everybody can switch over, this problem will go away and he won't have to do
Yeah.
this anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the goal. I
Yeah.
also want to bring up that we are collecting the Grape 2 log zip files and then zip files that are going up daily, and they're being uploaded to the WWV server. We started doing that right when we put out the Grape 2. And I know that we're really interested in the data on the hard drives. We have to wait a whole year to look at that. And so, before when we swap the hard drives out. So how are we able to get the data that is similar, a daily feed that we could look at the data from the Grape 2s? And I don't think that the should we be taking that same data that we're dumping to the WWV server right now for Grape 2s? Should that be now going to the personal space weather station as well? Or do they, they're not really collecting that data on a daily basis that I'm aware of. It's all going over to the WWV server. And so that we have both Grape 1 and Grape 2. The DRF stuff is going, that was the first one to go to the personal space weather station on a regular basis. So we still have an ongoing problem with, we don't necessarily have daily access to data that you might want to be able to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And you might want to be able to see this on the Grape 2s as well.
Well, there's a lot of different options here. And certainly it would be possible to add code to the Grape 2 devices to upload the narrow bandwidth, that is the FLDigi data. And and then save that as a data product. In fact, I have come to the realization I'm going to have to add a new table to the database of data products so that each observation could have as many data products associated with it as need be. Today, each observation has two things. It has the original data and it has one plot, which is a data product. But we've realized that for the, especially for the grape 2s, and also for the anything that generates wide bandwidth data, that is not compatible, not directly compatible with the CSV options of the Happy server, because it's simply too great data volume. So for those, of course, we're going to save the original. Let's just talk about grape 2, which today generates the largest files. We would certainly save the grape 2 original CSV files, which is the 8 kilohertz bandwidth on 3 channels. However, for the quick look that people want, there's going to be a couple of different data products. There will be the 3-band spectrogram that's generated by Kong's software. That's available today for those grape 2s that have been imported, which I'm working on right now. But there would be a second data product, which would be a narrow bandwidth close-in look, and that's what you would, if you want to do a close look on the browser, a quick look on the browser, you would have a second data product you would look at. So of course, if you want the entire thing, you can download the entire thing, but we don't have the bandwidth either in the server or on the internet to make the entirety of a grape 2 observation available through Happy on a browser. You would need to download and then work with it locally. So since I need to keep track of additional data products anyway, we could certainly have an additional data product so that an observation, for example, a grape 1 legacy, today there's an FL Digi, but we don't have facility today of uploading those to the personal space with the station network. Rather, what happens is I just get the CSV file and use the software written by Nathaniel and Christina to create the Doppler and amplitude plots. I don't have software that will reproduce what FL Digi produces. If there's a way to do that, if there's a piece of code to do that, I certainly can run it and then start adding that as an additional data product. But today I don't know how to do that. FL Digi today, what I understand, is generated on the fly as the system runs. And then that's
Peng did write that code. So that code exists.
I have heard that, but I haven't seen it. I need to.
We could try to get back in touch with Kung and see if we can have him give you the code.
Yeah. And another thing I've done is I have compared both. If you put on the same screen the FL Digi plot and the new code plot, you will see a lot of similarities, but they're not really the same because the method of generating the data is so different. You can't really.
When you say the new code plot, what do you mean?
There is a code that you and Christina wrote, and that's what I use.
Oh, okay. There's a code that I think I know what you mean. Where it's just picking off. This is picking off the values from a digital RF plot.
No, it uses the Grape 1 legacy data. Let me see if
Okay.
I can find an example.
This has like the blue dots in the background and
Let's see if I can find an example here.
I believe so. It's the package plotter from the HamSCI personal space weather station.
yeah, it starts with the CSVs.
Okay, I will show you what I'm talking about. Share. It's
Right.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you take this, I have a few examples where I have both this and the FL Digi plot of the same day. They are not identical. There's certainly a lot of similarities between them. If I had my druthers, I would rather standardize on this because that's easy to generate from I have running code that generates this from the FL, that is from the CSV data that comes from the Grape One legacy systems. Although, of course, as I said, if I have the code that takes the CSV input and generates FL Digi compatible output, we can certainly have them both.
How big are the differences? Because
You'd
I
have
think
to-
when I wrote this, I think I tried to follow what was going on in the original FL Digi plots very carefully.
You would have to go through and compare a whole bunch of them and make your own conclusions. I don't know how to really evaluate that. I can get a bunch of examples and send them to you so you can see what you
My
think.
opinion is I don't think that's worth it. I think this code is just fine. The code that I'm using to plot it here, the blue dots are the raw values coming right out of the spreadsheet. So there's no processing on those. And then the yellow line is just a bandpass filtered, or is it low pass filtered signal of that. So the plot is it's a representation of the data, but the raw underlying data is there, and the blue dots are representing it faithfully.
Well, as I said, I do have a number of cases where I have them both.
Yeah.
And you might find it instructive at least to look through those and see what you think.
Yeah, you feel free to send them to both to me and to Christina.
Yeah, for sure.
That way
Yeah.
we can at least review it. Definitely.
Because, one thing about the new style with the blue dots is, I don't know whether this is true or not, but, we've all very often heard Phil tell us that we need to be thinking about including error bars or including some kind of measure of uncertainty. And it might be possible, because you've got all the data shown there, to add uncertainty or error bars around this data, if that's, if it could be interpreted that way. And I know that. Go ahead.
Christina, what's your thought on this?
My thought on this is that the most important thing for the like file system is making it so that it's possible to access the data. If we can access the data through an API, then the HamSCI PSWS Python package should be able to have features added that will cover these use cases.
Yeah.
And so that would include like being able to do multi-plot, for example. And so we could run we should be developing the plotting I think within that, because then it would be relatively straightforward to add a button on the control center pages to say, I'd like to see all of these in one multi-plot.
Yeah.
But it would also solve the problem of like if somebody is trying to do an analysis locally, they'll be able to do that. But I think that's where we should be developing that tool.
And I think for the moment, the plots that you just showed, Bill, are sufficient for quick look plots on a website. So you're not necessarily supposed to be using those to actually go publish a paper. You're supposed to use those to see, is there something useful here looking at? Should I download the data and process it more? And I think it captures that well. I think there's so many things going on that trying to put meaningful error bars on those plots beyond what we already have is, without having a clear idea of exactly why we want them, is not, or how to do it, is not really going to be a good use of our time. And similarly, like, I think I still think that more time should be spent looking at the digital RF style plots, because they're the ones that they capture way more physics. They capture multi-mode of propagation. There's more hints as to whether it's like whether you're hearing WWV or WWVH. I think that's where we really need to be spending our time. And even with the Grape 2 data, you know, we're capturing that full bandwidth, like what is it, 8 kilohertz of data. Like it'd be more important for us to somehow be able to archive that full data and be able to you know, process that in a spectrum format than reduce it down to a single line.
Well, we are archiving that
Yeah.
Grape 2
So
wide bandwidth data.
we are archiving Grape 2 wideband data. So it'd be much better use of our time to figure out how to get that plotted into the you know, green and yellow digital RF style plots.
Well, there's a code written by Kung that does that, but it's been filtered down to 10 hertz bandwidth.
Right. And again, that's for a quick look plot, that's just fine, I think. Because the website, what we're trying to do with the website is the website's not going to be a be all end all place to do the data plotting. It's right now it's going to be able to give us a view, at least enough of a view to say, okay, there's something interesting here. I can start to get an idea of, you know, what's in the data set. But then, you know, to really make use of it, then the person's going to have to download it and process the data the way they want to. And, you know, we might get to the someday, you know, we might get to the point where we are able to produce more refined data products or, you know, visualizations right on the website. I just don't think we're at that point yet. I think it's more important to get the quick look plots up and make sure that you can at least see the data, the quick look data, and access it. And then, you know, as we become more sophisticated, you know, then we'll eventually be able to be like, okay, you know, now we know we really want to be able to put these plotting tools.
Yeah, I think one thing about the quick look plots, one thing that the Grape 1 legacy system is doing right now that I have not I don't know if this is something that already exists in the Grape 2 system and I just haven't caught it. But the ability to look at the plots that Bill makes that cover all of the stations is very useful, because I think that if we're looking at the data from the network, we're going to want to look at it in space and in time, and being able to say what happened in a day's worth of data and not just what happened in a day's worth of data at this station is a very useful thing. So that is something that I think can be a plotting priority, to be like, let's get multi-plot going sooner rather than later. But I still think doing it through like a Python script that can be run, you know, can be run locally either by a user who's downloaded the data or on the server is the right way to go.
So to do that, you're going to need the files that are currently going to the WWV server for the Grape 2. You're talking about doing this for Grape 2, right?
For everything we can. So yeah, probably.
So I think the fact that Joe's got all these files building up means that they're not being transferred up to the file, to PSWS. And so that's how because I think before the files were copied to the server and then deleted from the Raspberry Pi, if I'm not mistaken. I might have that wrong.
Well, Dave, are you talking about PNG files or CSV files?
Well, PNG files and CSV files were both part of what was uploaded to the WWV server for Grape One Legacy. So we got both of those files were uploaded. You're transferring right now only the CSV file, is that correct?
No, I'm getting the PNG files. If I could, sometimes the PNG sometimes they're not there, but if I download a CSV file, I will look to see if there's a matching PNG file already there, and I will use that. So we have a mixture of FLDigi and new style plots for the Grape One Legacy data that I've gotten from WWV. If I get when I download from WWV, I get everything, and I put
Right.
the Grape 2 stuff aside because I don't have a paradigm for handling that yet. But for the Grape One Legacy data, I will store the CSV. If there's a PNG that is FLDigi, I'll store that for a quick look. If I don't have it, then I generate the new style plot.
Right. The PNG you're referring to, the FLDigi PNG, I don't think FLDigi does the graph. I think that's the one that is done after it takes the CSV file. So that's the program that we'd like to be able to have, so people could just get the CSV file and then generate their own PNG from it.
I mean the script you're asking about, Joe, is on the Raspberry Pi itself. It's a Python script that, you have it.
Well, I thought, okay, so those generate the FLDigi style plot from the CSV data. I thought those things ran in real time while
it's a script, Python script that David
At the end of the
Cassidy
day.
and myself wrote, and it creates the Grape One Legacy plots. And that's done at the end.
It
You can do
works
that
for a whole
anytime.
day at a time.
You can do that anytime. Now, the code isn't anything I'm exactly proud of, but it works.
What I see here is every day, just within a minute of
There's actually 3 pieces to the code set. There's one main one and it calls a couple other ones, but yeah, it's all Python code. And I do some very light filtering to make the graph look viewable. I didn't like all the fuzz.
So that's the source of the PNG files that I'm loading today when they're available. Is that correct? Okay.
Correct. So you could just get the CSV file and then run that Python script locally and generate that same graph.
Exactly.
On demand.
And I don't know if we put those Python scripts on the Grape 2. I don't remember. It's been too long.
I don't see a PNG file generated from those.
It's not being generated, but that's because it's not being called. It could very easily just be put on there and run.
Well, Nathaniel was saying a while ago that it's not such good use of time to try and go back and reproduce all that as long as we have a quick look.
Yeah.
And I could certainly take a look at expanding, or rather developing a flavor of one of these programs that can handle the 8 kilohertz bandwidth. That's going to be a large plot. Let's cover a whole page.
I think we're getting into the weeds here. Has this been submitted as a charrette item?
In various forms, yeah, but feel free to send in another one.
Yes, I think, we're really getting into kind of like project management and software engineering, and John's getting.
Yeah, we can discuss this one more tomorrow.
Yeah,
I think it's good to understand. I think it's good to understand the scope of what we've got to tackle, though. It's good.
Yeah, that's true. So,
yeah.
but real quick to Bill and Dave's issue that we need to address, because I should be helping with this one. So we've got the list of names. I think I have those in the email. The set of instructions on migrating from the old server to the new server. Where is this set of instructions? I remember seeing it, but let's make sure we get that on the website, and then I can send out the emails to everybody.
Yeah, I'll dig that out and figure out how to get it on the website.
Okay.
And I'll also send
Well,
out
just
copies
send
of
it to me, and I'll take care of it. Or
Just-
I know
Or send it to
Gary
Gary.
also is willing to. Yeah, either one of us can put it on there easily. But
Yeah, as I recall, it has a lot of graphics in it, and that can lead to it becoming a bit of work to put on the website.
No,
So,
that's
but
fine.
I'll
That's
try
fine.
it and see. I mean, it's in
Just
MS
publish a
Word. You can
PDF
do a
file
save
of it.
as
I
you can save
I
as
re-
HTML, and
I'd save it just as a PDF file and post the PDF file.
It's
Take a
Okay,
Word
all right.
just
document.
send it to me. I will take care of it. Fear not.
All right, okay.
I like that. Fear not.
Fear not. Be just and fear not. And I'll put it
Thank
in the
you,
minutes to
everybody.
keep myself honest too.
I'm sorry to take up too much time about that, but bear in mind, it's not a bad idea to discuss some of these things now, because when we get to do our session at AGU, how much time have we got to talk about it? Maybe an hour and a half. So
Mhm.
it's a good idea to get some of these ideas on the
Mhm.
table, because I don't know if the length of the discussion we
Oh.
have at AGU is enough to
Oh,
cover.
no. Bill, you're being way too generous. You have 9 minutes.
Okay,
it's
well
9. I
then,
thought it was 7.
okay, then we're not going to get a chance to discuss anything at
No,
AGU.
what happened? So
Zero.
at AG, well, let me rephrase that. You have 9 minutes for the presentation, but the presentation is just a high level summary of what we're doing. We do have, I'm organizing it so that hopefully our whole group will be there for 2 days. So we give our session, the formal part of the session, but then we can have little side meetings, go out to lunch, sit down at tables, and we can discuss things that way. So the actual meeting, the actual real meat and potatoes of the meeting doesn't happen during the presentation.
Well, I remember in the past, there have been these little work areas that you
Mhm.
could reserve one. Maybe
Yeah.
we could do that and then reserve an hour to talk about this stuff.
Yeah. Why don't we, I agree, we need to have that time. And I do agree we should be talking about some of this stuff now too. And that's where I think, my thought with this direct process, which I think is what Christina is thinking now that it's the beginning of November, we should start discussing what has been put in, and we have to start kind of prioritizing and deciding what features we really want to implement. And I do fully understand, and I think everyone else needs to understand this too, that when we come out with this, we're not going to be able to implement every single thing that's in the charrette. There's definitely going to be things that are going to be nice to haves, but just Bill knows his team and knows what he can do. Christina knows what she can do. I know what I can do. There's going to be some things that we just won't be able to plan for or handle at this point. So, and that's okay. That's absolutely fine. So I don't know, Chris, I'm not sure where we are in the agenda, so maybe I should hand it back to Rachel. But if we don't know, I think it might be a good time to talk about where we are in the charrette process.
As long as nobody else has any other updates, we can just talk about the charrette.
Let's do that. I think that's incredibly important.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got the. Let me just share the tab here. I've been spending some time today trying to figure out the best way to pull this data. Because you can download it in various formats and things. I'm happy to send that to anyone who wants a copy. But we have 30 responses. A lot of them are from us, which is fine. This has been sort of a collective notepad of things that we need to do. And so we're planning on meeting, I think you said tomorrow, Nathaniel, to talk about some of these issues in more detail. And my plan between today and tomorrow is to kind of take these and figure out ways to categorize them, and put them into some format, I kind of wish that we were like in person and we could do it with sticky notes. So maybe I'll use Jamboard or something like that if
Yeah.
Jamboard still exists. I don't know. But yeah, there's some really good stuff in here. Gwyn posted some awesome things. Let's see. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit just today, like be able to select multiple stations data in a geographic area to compare with one's own. Download data perhaps by minute as opposed to seconds. So setting cadence, that's yeah, please keep the existing data graphics and amplitude charts. Huh. Interesting. I had no idea that Larry was using those, so that's good to know. Page to be extended to EU. I don't know what they mean, but I will look into that.
I mean, to include Europe.
Yeah.
It-
Oh, like the map?
Yes, the map. And
Okay.
YO, what's the YO is what country? YO9
Romania.
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 All right, cool. Cool.
We need Romania on there.
Yeah, I guess we need to get Romania on there.
Yeah, the map covers the whole world, if that's what you're talking about. It's just centered on the US, but you can zoom to anywhere, but we don't have any stations in Romania.
Well, it sounds like anonymous not verified Y09RIJ would be game to start changing that. So that's exciting. Maybe does it set based on where the dots are, or is it on the US just by default as lat lon bomb?
It's just defaults by
Cool.
it just defaults to the US just because that's where things started. I mean, it can
Yeah.
be changed however we want to.
Sounds good.
It can be
We
started out
can-
zoomed out too, so that it's the whole world shows up initially. That's another way to do it.
Yep. Well, we can put that on there, and we don't need to, as Nathaniel said, we don't need to address every single one of these. We can, one of the things we'll be doing tomorrow is kind of the rank and yank, I think.
I think tomorrow's meeting is actually, at least the first one, Jonathan Rizzo really called tomorrow's meeting. So I think he wants to talk about the VLF stuff as a primary. But
Sounds good.
then
when
but
we do discuss this.
But we should plan for another meeting where we do this.
Sounds good. Yeah, and then we've got Madrigal.
I mean, in fact, I'm strongly of the opinion that we maybe deviate from our normal agenda of these meetings, of these operations meetings for the next couple of weeks, and just say we're going to focus only on charrette discussion.
I'd be all right with that if other people are. We can at least make it a major part of the agenda, just to go through that. Because the other thing about it is that all of this will go into Bill's presentation for
Yeah,
AGU.
I think that's the thing to do. We already have these time slots blocked off for everyone to discuss. I propose that we take these time slots from now up until AGU and really focus on just discussing charrette and how we're going to implement things and when and why. Because Bill, what I'm hoping you can do is, really put your project manager hat on for this, so that as we go through this, you really can help us plan out to say this is feasible for our team, this is not. And I think I want to follow the waterfall development model for this, where we, write up all the requirements documents first and then hand them over to you. And I think that will be the best way for you to plan and to manage your team.
Well, yeah, what I've had the best success with is it's a combination of waterfall and agile, because sometimes you don't know how something's going to turn out until you come up with a prototype of it. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I'm thinking is going to be what we're wanting to do here is to on a few of these things come up with it's another kind of a quick look, a prototype of, for example, we've got one or two graphs for the magnetometer chart, for example, plotting the magnetometer data. We have a prototype of that, but before I put it on the server and go through all the trouble of that, we want to show this team the plots that are coming out of it and say, well, you know, you'll want some changes to it. Of course, that's natural. And then we'll get that worked out. So, yeah, that kind of thing.
I think that sounds really ideal. What do you think, Christina?
Yeah.
Great.
So we should have magnetometer example plots probably within the week. Send those out for comment. So
That sounds wonderful.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? I'd say we're out of time to do any more deep dive. I know we just said we kind of discussed charrette, but we can pick that up next week.
Yeah.
I will
much
say
on
also-
the agenda as it exists.
Yes. If anyone has any announcements that they or updates that they do want, since just try to put them in the minutes before the meeting for next week. So we can figure out how much time we have for the charrette, or if there's something else that we actually absolutely need to talk about. Or if we can just kind of read through the list and be like, we're good to go.
Yeah. I would say, you know, I think we should make the charrette the top priority and only do other things if absolutely necessary.
It will be, but it's if somebody has updates, they can still type them, and then it's a very fast thing to just read them off in the minutes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
A discussion.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. 7-3.
okay, 7-3. We'll be in
Great.
touch.
7-3, everybody.
73 all.
Bye, everyone.